Hey guys, thanks for checking out the channel. Tobin here with you, coming at you after a 19-3 preseason loss. Your Miami Dolphins fall to the Atlanta Falcons 19-3 in what was, we could call an underwhelming game. I mean, let's put this in perspective right off the bat. Dolphins saw, what did they say, like 25 guys that were meaningful today. You're going in this, the main players, you knew they weren't going to play, but even like the non-main main players were not playing today. So you went at this knowing like, hey, this may not be the greatest watch in the world. And it really got a bad snowball effect at the end because you had a special teams punt return touchdown by the Falcons, followed up by a tipped pick six to just add insult to injury in what was a pretty enjoyless game for the Miami Dolphins for the most part, just because there was a lot of unfulfilling stuff by the backup quarterback battle. So I would say if there's a point of concern in all of this, it's like, did any one of these guys really show out? Did they show up? You know, you bring in Mike White, local kid, you give him some guaranteed dough. You know, we had some impressive games with the Jets last year. Is he showing out? The local thing hasn't really worked out with Teddy Bridgewater. Didn't really work out with Jacoby Brissett. All right, we did Dade. We did Palm Beach. Let's try Broward. And, you know, he went out there today, and you had a turnover in the end zone with an interception. You had a turnover on downs when he was looking for Berrios, and then you had another turnover on downs. He got tipped near the line. So, you know, that wasn't really a fantastic look for Mike White. And then as far as Skyler was concerned, you know, he got intercepted going deep down the middle, and then of course had the pick six there late. So he wasn't any great shakes in this game either. You know, neither one of these guys were fantastic. Skylar Thompson got sacked 4 times today, so he got his ass lit up. And, you know, I would just say out of those guys, the backup signal callers, though they had to deal with maybe even more depleted line, not great. Not great as far as that's concerned. I would say from the positive standpoint of today's game, if I have to take the most positive thing that I would take from this preseason action for the Miami Dolphins, I would say, your young rookies. I would say that the performances by Devon Achane and Cam Smith were encouraged. Now, Cam Smith did get banged up. That's not great. You know, he's been taking a bit of a licking in this camp so far. But balls played by him. He had a huge tackle for loss that forced a 4th down. Then they ended up getting a tip. So it was a big stop on downs by the Dolphins defense, and Cam Smith was the real catalyst for that. Then Devon Achane, I think that's probably where most people will look today and be like, hey, all the hype on him, this kid looks good. And I think that's the thing that was encouraging about the Dolphins offense at times is like, he got these guys in space. There was some interesting stuff. Ezukama was getting some handoffs. He was getting some little dump offs and was making something happen in space. Gaskin had some good looking runs where he got some yardage. So I thought that there were some playmakers that were, you just gave him the ball in short yardage situations, or you just give him a little dump. They were making things happen. It was just that execution when you had to get down to the red zone. That was where it was a disaster. And that's where Mike McDaniel, you know, comes off today and he goes, you know, he quips it, you guys like that clinic? Because he knew, like, it was just the execution in key spots really just wasn't there for the Dolphins. You know, so they had these parts where things looked good. A-Chain getting the ball and making things happen, even, you know, took a big hit, kept on going. So I think from that standpoint, the most positive thing for me was watching the young rookies make some things happen. I think that, you know, this is still an offense where you get the ball in the playmaker's hand, even if they are backups to get in there. You know, they did some impressive things. It's just a matter of this whole looming thing with the QB room and your backup battle. Like, people look at this Dolphins team and the health of Tua, and they look at that and say, like, that's a big concern. What if he can't play? And, you know, you have these two guys there, and I don't know if either one of them you could say is exactly shining right now in this whole thing. So I would say to me that was probably the biggest thing to take out of this is like, all right, we have these two guys here. One guy you gave some money to. The other one, he's in his second year in the offense. which one of these guys has the leg up. You're going in this, and I would say Skylar Thompson probably has to blow Mike White out of the water to really secure that gig as far as like the number 2 guy. But I think today this was almost like a tickle fight. Like neither one of these guys was able to complete a drive for you. Neither one of these guys was really able to get you into the red zone, into the end zone, excuse me. And so I don't know how great you could feel about either one of them going into this. That's really that's the tough spot of it. And you like to keep it in perspective. It's the first preseason game. This first preseason game has really become almost like a throwaway, almost what the fourth preseason game used to be, where you're just getting to the season. Let's just get through it safe. It's like, let's just get through this first game. We'll get all our reps in the next 2. And so while, I don't think people should panic, I get any kind of like, just a little, uncomfortability that things are going. Because like, look, especially offensively, the offense didn't look great in the scrimmage, didn't really shine in the joint practices, and now you have a preseason game where you were able to put up 3 points, and especially when you were able to put yourself in some spots for success after getting yourself down and driving down the field and getting some good plays, you couldn't convert anything. That to me has probably been the most unfortunate part of this, is that like these little moments of execution still not quite polished off, knowing even that they were maybe handcuffed. But it's not like, look, you can't look at Atlanta and say like, oh, Atlanta was playing all these fantastic people. And for the most part on this game, pretty even Steven on the lack of execution. Yeah, they got a touchdown early, missed an extra point, and then got back-to-back crazy plays with a special teams punt return touchdown and then the pick 6. So, it was a pretty brutal game all the way through up until you got to the end. But I think that the thing that's frustrating is, the Dolphins had their opportunities. They were there, and, they just couldn't convert it. And at times were giving the football away right to the Falcons. So, that's definitely got to get better the next time around, and you're looking at it. But I mean, the QB2 battle, I think, rages on. I don't think that it's over by any means. I don't think either one of these guys was very impressive, even knowing that they weren't exactly dealing with a stacked deck, that they were going into this thing a little bit limited. I guess the other piece of decent news is that Jaylen Waddle appears like he's doing okay. According to Mike McDaniel, he's doing good. It was an injury to the midsection. It doesn't sound like this is anything they're even close to thinking about having him push through. He is, of course, Mike McDaniel says, listen, he's got enough reps in the offense that I feel comfortable, basically saying, like, what's the point in rushing him? What is the point in any of that when it comes to when it comes to getting him out there? We know what Jaylen Waddle can do. Don't see any reason to have him out there putting himself in danger. I would imagine this next game around, not him, but you'll probably get a little bit of Tua. You'll probably get to see a little bit of QB1 and see what he does, and then see how that executes. I think, but I do think that the Dolphin fan is probably in a spot right now where you certainly have some players that are impressing, and I think A-Chain's kind of gone in that. But there's still been some execution issues over this last week plus, where you're just like, when you're worried about the discipline of the team, and you're worried about the penalties of the team, and you're worried about the line of the team. I don't know if everything has been completely eradicated. And so I don't think those concerns are unwarranted, but I also don't think they should be overblown either. I think it's okay to keep it in the back of your mind, but also realize, dude, they sat 30 people today. Like, this is not, these are people fighting for jobs. These are people showcasing a little bit. You're trying to get some things cleaned up. And the execution at times was really piss poor for them. And they made some critical mistakes that especially made it look like a nasty blowout. So there's nothing there that you'd write home and say, I'm proud of the way that went, which is why, Mike McDaniel jokes about it being a clinic. But for this game, I think the rookies have to be the best part that you take out of it. You hope that Cam Smith is okay, but his play and A-Chain's play were really impressive. Ezukama on the couple of big bursts that he has, that's great to see, of course, because you're hoping that he can now take the preseason success, which is, this is pretty much what Ezukama does, is he has success in the preseason. Can that translate to, hey, now you know the offense? Can he execute? Can he do things for this offense that maybe the other receivers can't? Didn't get a look at Robbie Chosen. Apparently he had some nagging injuries that they decided, hey, let's just shut this down. Let's make it a quiet night for him. So you didn't get a look at him really. So I would say probably the biggest main player that got snaps today was Braxton Berrios, who had a couple catches for 11 yards, had 4 targets. One was in the end zone, but got broken up, so they weren't able to convert there. So, that's a very underwhelming day. Very underwhelming day, but football's back. Hey, the Dolphins were out there, uniforms were out there, football was back. Appreciate everybody who checked us out on the pregame show today on Game Day Uncensored on QAM. Go check that on out. We did not just talk preseason stuff. We got into a lot of the preseason issues for the Miami Dolphins and topics for the Miami Dolphins. So I thought it was a fun 4-hour show. Really enjoyed doing that with Solana and Omar Kelly. Check that on out. We will bring you that coming up noon next Saturday as they get ready for the Houston Texans game. But all in all for tonight, lackluster with a sprinkling of some young gem charm.